What happens when a struggling cowboy meets a freezing nurse at a train station and their unlikely love changes the course of history? Stay tuned to witness heartbreak, betrayal, and the jaw-dropping journey that turned a man from nothing into a billionaire, guided by the one person who never gave up on him. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. I was born to dust and debt, a cowboy with cracked hands, sleeping beside a failing rail yard, counting coins that never stayed. The train station smelled of rust and cold iron. Wind cut through my coat like a judgment. That was the night my company collapsed. Partners vanished, and betrayal signed my eviction notice. I stood there shaking, not from winter, but from knowing I had failed loudly. She was curled on a bench, a nurse in thin scrubs, fingers blue, eyes brave and exhausted. I offered my coat. She offered silence, then a soft thank you. That sounded like mercy. We shared coffee that burned our tongues. She listened without fixing me. She believed before there was proof. She worked double shifts, still found time to remind me that worth is not measured by balance sheets. I rebuilt during sleepless nights, coding with numb hands, selling my horse, selling my pride, learning humility the hard way. She paid rent when I could not. She held my face when investors laughed. She taught me discipline, kindness, and the courage to begin again. Years passed like slow thunder. One risk finally held, then another. Money came quietly, then all at once. I became a billionaire on paper, but rich long before that moment. Tonight, the same station hums beneath my feet. Warm lights, crowds rushing past. She stands beside me now, steady and radiant. I am about to tell her the truth about the final sacrifice I made. The one she never knew. The one that changed everything. My hands tremble as the words rise. The station clock ticks like a heartbeat. I tell her I never owned the company she believed in. I signed it away years ago. Sold my shares to keep her nursing license alive. When a lawsuit nearly crushed her name, I watched her save lives. While I erased myself from mine, she looks at me stunned, eyes shining with hurt and awe. The crowd blurs. The rails sing beneath us. I confess how I slept in my truck again, how I smiled while starving, how I let the world think I had failed twice, because her future mattered more than my pride. I tell her the billionaire headlines are wrong. The fortune came later, after years of silence, after one last chance, built from nothing but discipline and truth. She grips my coat, the same place where she once hid her frozen hands. Her voice breaks. She asks why I never told her. I say love is quiet when it is real. Sacrifice does not ask for applause. The station grows warm with memory. I remember the smell of antiseptic on her hair, the way she read textbooks by candlelight, the way she believed even when I could not breathe. Her tears fall onto my chest. Not grief, release. She whispers that she would have stayed anyway, that she never loved the money, only the man who chose goodness. When no one was watching, the announcement board flickers above us. A train approaches, slow and heavy. I reach into my pocket, holding something that could change our lives again. A decision I have not yet spoken aloud. One that will test everything we survived. My fingers close around the envelope, edges worn from months of doubt. Inside is the deed to the land where I grew up. The rail yard, the broken house, the place that taught me hunger and grit. I tell her I bought it back quietly, not to build towers, but a hospital wing, a school, a shelter for nights like the one we met. Her breath catches. She says my name like a prayer. I confess the fear still lives in me. That money never erased the cold. That success still wakes me before dawn, asking who I am without struggle. She places my hand on her heart. It is steady. It is warm. She reminds me that I did not rise alone. That love carried me when strength failed. That wisdom is choosing people over profit. Again and again, the train roars closer, metal screaming against steel. Wind lifts her hair into my face. I smell coffee. oil, winter memory. I tell her the final truth, that the next decision could cost everything, that powerful men are watching, waiting to take back what I built. If I refuse to bend, she does not flinch. She smiles with the courage that saved me once. She says then we will start again, with empty hands if needed, because meaning outlives money. The platform vibrates beneath our feet. Doors slide open. Time narrows to a single step forward. I look at her, knowing the choice I make next will define not my wealth, but my soul. I inhale the oil and iron of the platform, the past pressing close. I tell her the men waiting inside that train want silence in exchange for safety. They want me to forget the land, the hospital plans, the promise born in cold. I admit I am afraid again, not of losing money, but of losing myself. Her hand tightens in mine. She reminds me how fear once shaped me, how it carved discipline into my bones, how it never owned my choices. I remember nights eating dry bread, listening to trains leave without me. I remember her coatless shoulders, the quiet strength in her smile. The doors remain open. People board without looking back. Opportunity always looks ordinary when it arrives. I step closer to the threshold, feeling the weight of every sacrifice. I tell her that if I refuse them, everything becomes harder, slower, more honest. She nods. She says the world changes only when someone accepts the hard road twice. I realize the billionaire story was never the miracle. The miracle was choosing compassion. After survival, the conductor calls once more. My heart beats louder than the engine. I raise my eyes to the faces inside the car, then back to her, knowing the answer is forming, knowing what I am about to say will echo far beyond the station, far beyond money, into lives I will never meet. My mouth opens before my fear can vote. I tell them no. The word lands softly, yet it shakes the air. A man inside the train studies me, measures my past against his leverage. He smiles like someone who has never been cold. I step back, away from comfort, toward consequence. Her fingers lace through mine, steady as a promise kept too long. She whispers that courage is expensive, but regret costs more. The doors slide shut. The train pulls away, carrying easy answers with it. Silence floods the platform. My chest burns, not with panic, but relief sharp enough to sting. I tell her the truth I rarely admit. That wealth once felt like armor, that now it feels like responsibility. We walk the length of the station, past old posters and new faces, past echoes of the night we met. Snow begins to fall again, gentle, forgiving. I speak of foundations, of rebuilding systems, of choosing transparency when secrecy pays better. I tell her enemies will come. Delays, losses, smears. She listens the way she always has, with presence, with moral clarity. She reminds me that healing is slow, that real change irritates power, that love is not proven by winning, but by staying when winning disappears. We stop beneath a flickering light. I realize the next chapter will demand more than money. It will ask for patience, public scrutiny, and a version of me still under construction. I draw a breath to say what comes next, the decision that will open doors and burn bridges at the same time, the promise that could redefine everything we built. I tell her I will place my name where it can be attacked, on every door, every wing, every scholarship built from that land. I will let my story be questioned, my failures printed in bold, so the forgotten can walk inside without shame. Her eyes search mine, not for certainty, but truth. I admit I am tired, that carrying hope for others is heavier than poverty, that leadership feels lonely in ways hunger never did. She rests her forehead against my chest. I feel her breath slow mine. She says rest is not retreat, it is preparation. We step outside the station. Snow thickens. Streetlights glow like small promises. The city hums, unaware of our fragile resolve. I think of the board meetings ahead, the lawyers, the threats disguised as advice. I think of how easily I could disappear into comfort, She points to the rail tracks fading into white. She says history is made by those who stay present. When escape is cheaper, I realize she is still the nurse from that bench, warming what the world leaves exposed. I realize I am still the cowboy, learning which battles deserve my spine. My phone vibrates in my pocket. Messages stack like falling dominoes. Investors, journalists, an invitation that could soften the path. If I agree to one quiet compromise, I look at the screen, then at her, knowing the next choice will ripple outward, touching lives before it ever reaches us. Knowing what I answer now will decide whether this love becomes legend or another unfinished promise. I silence the phone without reading. The cold bites harder for that decision. She exhales, not relief, but recognition. She knows this version of me, the one who chooses weight over ease. We walk along the tracks, snow crunching under worn boots, city noise fading into breath and memory. I tell her I am afraid of becoming a symbol, of being polished into something unreal, of losing the raw edges. That taught me mercy. She stops me gently, turns my face toward the wind. She says symbols matter when they stay human, when they admit scars. I remember the first check that bounced, the first night I slept hungry on purpose, so my workers could eat. I remember how power tests character. Long after poverty stops, a reporter's voice echoes behind us. A camera lens flashes like lightning. The story wants a headline, a hero, a villain. I feel the old instinct to run, to hide behind lawyers and silence. Instead, I stand still. She squeezes my hand once. Enough. I begin to speak, not with polish, but with truth. About failure, about debt, about how love kept me accountable when ambition tried to hollow me out. The reporter leans closer. Snow gathers on the microphone. The night listens. I realize this moment will travel farther than any train ever could. That once spoken, there is no retreat. I draw a breath deep enough to steady my spine, feeling the weight of every life this could touch. Knowing the next sentence will either protect what we built or expose it to forces that do not forgive. And as I open my mouth, the station clock strikes, marking the second. Everything could change. The sound cuts through me like a bell in fog. I begin anyway. I say I am not a miracle. I am a man who failed loudly and learned slowly. I say money did not save me. A woman did. Work did. Truth did. The reporter blinks, surprised by the absence of shine. I feel the city lean in. I speak of freezing nights, of that bench, of hands that healed without asking for credit. I say success is borrowed until it is returned to the people who made it possible. Snow melts on my lashes. I do not wipe it away. I feel her beside me, solid as ground. She is not in the spotlight, yet she anchors it. Questions come sharper now. Numbers, names, intentions. I answer what I can. I refuse what I must. Some faces harden, others soften. That is the cost of honesty. A siren wails somewhere distant. Life continues, indifferent and immense. My phone vibrates again, longer this time. A message from someone powerful, offering protection in exchange for distance. A reminder that pressure does not sleep. She notices my jaw tighten. She whispers that storms pass, but choices stay. I look at the hospital blueprint folded in my coat, at the rail yard lights flickering like a past that refuses to be forgotten. I know tomorrow will bring audits, headlines, and people who smile with knives behind their backs. I know the work ahead will demand more courage than hunger ever did. I draw one more breath, steady, deliberate, and lift my eyes again, ready to answer the next question, aware that the path forward is narrowing, that love is about to be tested by fire, and that what I choose to protect next will decide how history remembers us. The next question lands heavier than the rest. They ask who truly owns the future I am promising. I hesitate, not from doubt, but from respect for the answer. I say the future belongs to those who never stood on this platform by choice, to the tired, to the unseen, to the ones who keep showing up, with empty pockets and full hearts. A murmur ripples through the small crowd. Phones rise. Faces sharpen into judgment or hope. I feel the old discomfort crawl back. That sense of standing exposed, of being measured by strangers, who will never know the cost. She steps closer, not forward, not behind. Beside, her presence steadies the ground. I remember how she once wrapped my hands to stop the bleeding when I could not afford a doctor. How she taught me that care is a form of power. I speak again, slower now. I say the projects will be led by nurses, teachers, builders who know what scarcity smells like. That profit will kneel before purpose. Some laugh quietly. Others nod as if remembering something lost. A man at the edge of the crowd turns away. Another steps closer. This is how change always begins, not with applause, but with fracture. Snow thickens, softening the hard lines of the city. The cold no longer frightens me. I have survived worse. My phone vibrates one last time. A message marked urgent. A warning, not an offer. I look at the screen, then at her eyes, calm and unwavering. And I realize the next move will not be strategic. It will be moral. I lift my head, ready to respond. Knowing the words I choose now will decide who walks with us and who stands against us. And as I draw breath to speak again, the lights along the track flicker, the crowd goes quiet, and the moment opens wide enough to change everything that comes after. The silence feels heavier than noise. I speak into it carefully. I say the warning is real. That pressure will come disguised as partnership. That fear will offer shortcuts. That integrity will demand time. And patience rarely trends. The crowd shifts. Some step back. Some lean closer, hungry for certainty. I tell them certainty is a luxury of comfort. Progress is built by those willing to stand unsure and still choose what is right. Her hand warms mine again. I remember how she once held my fevered head after a 16-hour shift. How she whispered that survival is not victory, but it teaches the road to it. A child tugs at a parent's sleeve near the fence. Wide eyes, listening. I feel the weight of being watched by the future. I say the land will open next spring. That construction will hire locally. That no one will be turned away for lack of money. I hear my voice steady, rooted in promises I intend to keep. A man shouts that it will fail. Another says it must not. Both are right. Snow gathers on my shoulders. Cold seeps in, familiar and grounding. I am not afraid of it anymore. She whispers that whatever happens next, we meet it together. Not as legend, not as charity, as work. Sirens fade in the distance. The station breathes again. I glance once more at the urgent message, at the clock inching forward, at the people waiting for clarity. I know the next step will cost allies, invite scrutiny, and test the quiet strength we built in shadows. I open my mouth to name the first concrete action, the one that will turn words into risk. And as the snow thickens around us, I feel the story stretching forward unfinished. Waiting for the choice I am about to make, the snow begins to fall lighter, almost forgiving, as I finally speak the plan aloud. We will rebuild the rail yard, not as a monument to profit, but as a home for hope, a place for nurses, teachers, dreamers, for anyone who remembers what it is to be overlooked. I hand the blueprint to her, and her eyes shine, not with surprise, but with recognition of the countless nights we spent imagining a better world. I tell the crowd that wealth is not the measure of a life. It is the choices we make when no one watches. It is the courage to stay human, while the world pushes for compromise. Some journalists nod. Some skeptics frown. All leave knowing they witnessed something rare. Integrity unbowed by fear. She steps forward, her presence calm but commanding, reminding everyone that love and loyalty shape stronger foundations than contracts or cash. I watch her and I understand. The richest man is not the one who hoards gold, but the one who invests in people, who chooses kindness over convenience, who honors promises even when it hurts. The city lights reflect off the snow, a gentle glow warming the platform. We stand together, hand in hand. not as a billionaire and his partner, but as survivors, builders, guardians of a future that demands moral courage. I feel a quiet pride, not for myself, but for the truth we lived. That love can guide, sacrifice can teach, and persistence can transform even the bleakest nights into dawns worth remembering. The train whistles far away, carrying with it the echoes of our past. I smile at her and she smiles back, knowing the work is never finished, but that we have chosen the path that matters. And that is the lesson for everyone. Greatness is not measured by what you earn, but by what you give, and by the integrity with which you walk through fire. The end. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, share it, comment below, and let someone know you are never alone.